Welcome back, my awesome people. In today's episode, I will be discussing one of the biggest news coming out of the psychedelic sector, and that is the stepping down of Mindmed CEO JR Rahn. Effective immediately. Why immediately? And not in a few weeks, not a few months? Sounds fishy. Was there a scandal? Maybe a fist fight in the middle of a meeting? Who knows? But I am here to give you a couple of reasons of why I think JR stepped down and what's next for Mindmed in the psychedelic sector and in the market overall. Now, if you have not heard of Mindmed, I suggest you get out from under your rock, because Mindmed was one of the most explosive and anticipated psychedelic companies of 2020 and continues to be, as it is breaking ground for clinical trials of various psychedelic sources. Mindmed is a clinical stage psychedelic medicine biotech company that seeks to discover, develop, and deploy psychedelic-inspired medicines and therapies to address addiction and mental illness. Mindmed is assembling a compelling drug development pipeline of innovative treatments based on psychedelic substances, including psilocybin, LSD, MDMA, DMT, and many more. Mindmed's share prices have had a wild ride in the past year, as it has traded as high as $5.77 and as low as $2.85, and currently in the mid $4 range. And for more strategies and tips on money, investing, and creating financial independence, follow me on Twitter at Jacob Rant, and get bullish on that subscribe button for the YouTube algorithm, and smash all the likes and bells to get all the updates on my many fantastic investments. And comment below with what you think about Mindmed. Are you buying more or ready to sell? Because I do reply to every comment. And if you are watching this video and do not have a Wealthsimple trade account and you want free money to trade with and $0 commission fees that won't eat into your profits, especially if you're trying to buy Mindmed, look at all those perks, right? Sign up with my Wealthsimple link down in the description box below for $25 of free real money. Link is below. Now, what happened? Well, there is not much evidence or details about why JR Rahn stepped down specifically, but from putting a few pieces of information together myself, remember, this is just my opinion, as to factors that may have contributed to JR stepping down and passing on the leadership. The first reason, I know it may seem like a reach, but I will put it out there. It is about the direction that Mindmed will be going. JR's intentions was not to make Mindmed products for recreational use, but only strictly for medicinal use through the FDA approval pathway. In a recent interview with Benzinga, JR stated that Mindmed is discovering and developing new and existing psychedelic molecules as medicines through the FDA pathway, and that Mindmed is focused on getting classic psychedelics like LSD into clinical trials to prove safety and efficacy, as Mindmed ultimately wants to focus on building infrastructure to deliver psychedelic medicines and creating technologies that help scale drug launches, and that Mindmed is not interested in making these substances into recreational products. So this statement has led myself and others to believe that there could have been a disagreement within the company of what direction Mindmed should go. Maximize revenue and profits through recreational products, or maximize research and development to change the world of health and wellness. In another of his recent interviews with Forbes, JR has been speaking about his lack of interest in psychedelic decriminalization efforts, going so far as to say that he worries that decriminalizing psychedelics for recreational use at the legal level could hinder scientific progress. Because if there's a backlash against legislation, it could shut down psychedelic research. And not long after this interview, much controversy came up with news that JR had recently sold approximately half 50%, half of his Mindmed holdings, roughly around the same time as Bruce Linton, the director of Mindmed, also sold about half, 50%, about half of his Mindmed holdings as well, raising suspicions as to what is going on in Mindmed. And soon after the selling, JR announced he will be stepping down. So this was definitely not an abrupt or sudden departure, but a departure that has been in the works for weeks, maybe months. In my last video about Mindmed a few months ago, this one, where I explained why I sold the majority of my Mindmed shares when it was above the $5 mark, I went off on Mindmed and JR about the information that they were holding back. Because you can see from the interview highlighted in my video that although JR may have had personal things going on in his life, there was still a lot more going on at Mindmed that he was not willing to share. I get it. Companies do not have to tell shareholders everything. But when actions speak louder than words, like selling 20% of your shares and acting like nothing happened, and now to find out that you sold another 50% of your shares and now stepping down, there was definitely knowledge about this departure, as I said, maybe weeks, maybe months ago. And it seems like now that the Mindmed hype has cooled down, it was time for JR to quietly depart and let someone else take the captain's seat. So maybe JR's purpose was to get Mindmed to where it is now and then depart. Or maybe he has unfinished goals to accomplish with Mindmed, but something else forced him to step down. And this leads me to my second reason for why JR stepped down from Mindmed. A reason that probably makes more practical sense than just a disagreement of what path Mindmed should take. It's whether or not JR's lack of experience in biotech was the main reason for his departure. Remember, one of the key positions in any company is the CEO. In ideal circumstances, a CEO can serve as leadership that guides the company from one successful venture to the next. Worst case scenario, a weak CEO can jump from one questionable decision to another and drag a successful company into the dirt with them. AT&T. This leadership mentality is heavily leveraged in the world of biotech, as it requires not only the skills to build a company, but also the skills to effectively understand the product and or service itself. For example, a good biotech CEO needs to balance scientific innovation with commercial viability. Being able to identify patient populations, clinical development plans, and the commercial viability of the products are all essential elements of good biotech leadership. So it makes perfect sense that in a highly technical and research-based industry, such as the biotech sector, having the right candidate lead is especially crucial. Unfortunately for JR, he does not have the direct experience backed by outstanding achievements. Just because an executive is a good manager and skilled at fundraising, that does not mean that it will translate into the skills necessary to take a biotech company to the next level. As such, JR had no choice but to step down, now that being listed on the NASDAQ requires a leader fitted for a biotech company. So, Mindmed had to make the adjustments to move to the next level. And although biotech experience was not part of JR's experience portfolio coming in, he deserves high credit. Mad props and mad respect, high credit, because he has guided Mindmed to become one of the most valuable companies in the psychedelic space. And no doubt about it, he deserves a round of applause. He helped to assemble a diverse clinical pipeline, establish world-class research partnerships, and an instrumental part of the leadership team as Mindmed went public on the NEO exchange in Canada last year and recently listed on the NASDAQ stock market. Under JR's leadership, Mindmed has raised over $204 million, making it one of the most well-capitalized companies in the psychedelic medicine industry due to JR. So, thank you, JR. But until Mindmed finds a fitting CEO, Robert Barrow will be the interim CEO. In fact, Robert may not be officially the CEO, but he does have a resume that fits the role of a biotech CEO. Robert is an accomplished pharmaceutical executive with over a decade of experience leading organizations and drug development programs in a variety of disease areas. He is a recognized leader in the psychedelic industry, in which he has played a central role in the design and execution of a number of successful drug development strategies. Robert has also served as a technical and strategic advisor to numerous large and small pharmaceutical companies who are developing novel central nervous system therapeutics, and has been an invited speaker at multiple industry and scientific presentations. So if another CEO candidate is not found, there is a good chance that Robert could fill that role, as he has an extensive resume in this sector. So what do you think is gonna happen to Mindmed now, Jacob Rant? Well, the circumstances surrounding Mindmed's recent change at the top are not ideal. The JR era of Mindmed's corporate development has ended. A new chapter has begun. Mindmed has one of the brightest futures in the psychedelic industry, and the right captain will make a big difference in the direction it will be going. Psychedelic treatment will be a staple in the health and wellness sector. It is just a matter of time. So Mindmed, I am highly looking forward to this new adventure ahead of you. I may even jump back in and buy more Mindmed shares at the right price. But please, 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 no more sneaky drama. And again, if you are watching this video and do not have a Wealthsimple trade account and you want free money to trade with and $0 commission fees that won't eat into your profits, sign up with my Wealthsimple link down in the description box below for $25 of free real money. Link is below. So again, I am not a financial advisor, so make sure you do your own research and consult your own financial professional. Thanks. There is so much wealth out there for all of us to get a piece of. So by allowing our hard-earned money make us more money is the key to wealth and the key to financial success. Subscribe, like, and share to help out the channel, and so you will get notified of when I post my penny stocks, REITs, dividend, and speculative stocks from my portfolio and other investments that I am buying and selling. I want everyone to have the opportunity to get out of this work-life trap by buying back their freedom through investing. So let's all ride 2021 together on a journey of health, love, success. So until the next video, stay ranting.